Indeed, it didn't. When my father was told to report to the headquarters of the Inter-Services Research Bureau in Baker Street in London, he was given that pass and told he joined the organisation, but not what it was.
Britain's Special Operations Executive was born in July 1940, when Churchill issued a directive to set Europe ablaze. Its London headquarters operated under the cover name the Inter-Service Research Bureau, the very name stamped on the pass you're seeing. The Fairbairn Sykes fighting knife was finalised at Wilkinson Sword that same November. Fewer than 2,000 of the first pattern were produced before the design was simplified late in '41. And of the 470 F-section agents who slipped into occupied France, 118 never returned.
My father knew Lieutenant Sykes and worked with him in SOE. Almost the first thing my father had to do on joining the organisation was to go and do the commando training course at Arisaig in the Western Highlands of Scotland. His own job was going to be to train Polish volunteers who were going back into Poland to join their version of the resistance, the AK, the Home Army. But before he could do that, he had to do the course himself.
I'm going to be technical for a bit here. This is a first pattern, third type. First one's had a 3-inch wavy crossguard. They got rid of it, snagged on everything. Second type had a square ricasso here, and this is the third type. The blade goes straight in. Now, if you look at another one of these, you'd be quite lucky because they didn't make very many of them. A few thousand at the absolute outside. They're all slightly different because each one of those was handmade by the people at Wilkinson, and they would hand grind the blades on a great big stone. It was handled by Sykes out of Fairbairn and Sykes. With that, I would put £5,000 on that.
I'm astonished.
It's the most amazing thing, handled by the guy who invented it. That has absolutely, totally made my day. That is just a wonderful...
that we've ever had on the roadshow. It's a blunderbuss and it dates from about 1680. And I wondered if you know what it was used for.
I've been told it's a turnpike gun. So if people don't pay their tolls, that's what they'd get.
Well, it's a sort of 17th century equivalent of the congestion charge then.
And if they heard the shot, they're still alive.
The Worshipful Company of Gunmakers received its royal charter from Charles I in 1637, with the right to test every musket and pistol made within 10 miles of London. Godfrey Taylor served as its master twice, in 1690 and again in 1699. He was working at the height of the Stuart Restoration, when shipborne defence weapons like this were standard issue on East India Company vessels. The dog lock was the engineering bridge between matchlock and flintlock, and the reason a powder charge could sit ready for hours without firing by accident.
This would take something like about 4 or 5 ounces, so there's a lot of pellets in there. And they weren't loaded, as is popularly believed, with bits of broken metal and anything that you could find, but they were carefully cast little bullets about the size of peas, which were known as swan drops because they were for shooting wildfowl.
Yeah.
Now we can tell it's a very early gun because of the form of the lock. And the whole of the lock is very, very flat because it's been cut from solid sheets rather than forged. But the thing which is the real giveaway is this little catch on the back. A dog lock, as you rightly say, yes. It's a sort of early form of safety catch. And that held the cock in that position until you were ready to fire it so that you could keep it loaded and ready for any alarms or excursions.
Okay.
Now, do you know who made it?
I've been told Godfrey Taylor.
That's absolutely right. Taylor.
I don't know much about him.
Well, Taylor spanned the last half, really, of the 17th century. He was apprenticed in 1658 to a chap called John Silk, and then in 1666, when he'd done his 7 years, he was free of the gunmakers' company, which meant that he was allowed to work as a journeyman, a workman, go and earn his own wages and work for who he pleased. 1682, he's elected an assistant of the gunmakers' company, and in 1690 and 1699 he was the master of it. So he was the leader of this very important livery company in the city of London at a time of great interest in our history. It's constitutional monarchy was starting to come in. You've got Pepys's diaries, an absolutely wonderful period, and it's amazing to think that this firearm was around at that time. Now, this is a very, very early firearm from the sort of real beginnings of the British gun trade, and have you given any thought to what you think it might be worth?
Well, my friend bought it about 15 years ago off an antiques dealer for £750, so...
I think he had a bargain. Let's put a nought on it and say 7,500. On a really good day, it would probably do better than that, because it's from this absolutely wonderful period of our history, and it's also at the beginning of the gun trade.
This video is brought to you by Velco, the antique identifier app. Snap a photo of any item and Velco gives you an instant identification and a value estimate from its database of millions of antiques and collectibles. Available free on the App Store and Google Play. Now back to the appraisals.
Now, we have a career that starts...
By the time this officer took command of an armed merchant cruiser in 1939, he had already given 45 years to the Royal Navy. The China Medal had been struck for the relief of the Peking legations in 1900. Only about 5,000 were awarded to the senior service. The Russian Order of St. Stanislaus came from the White Russian intervention of 1919 to 21, when British warships fought in the Baltic and the Caspian against the new Bolshevik state, a campaign almost no one remembers today.
From the First World War. What did he do in the First World War?
Well, he was in the first cruiser squadron and was at Jutland.
Yeah.
And of the four cruisers, only one survived. His, in fact, sank the following day.
And for that, he is awarded the Distinguished Service Order. Mm-hmm. Now, that is a gallantry award. Mm-hmm. It goes the Distinguished Service Cross, the Distinguished Service Order, and the Victoria Cross. Mm-hmm. So it's very close. Mm-hmm. Now, he then has this wonderful thing down here, which is a Russian Order of St. Stanislaus. Where did he get that?
That was the White Russian campaign of 1919-21, and he commanded what was an aircraft carrier. Can you tell me anything more about the decoration?
So it is a Russian award of Imperial Russia. I had a look on the back because some of them are silver gilt, but the very rarer ones are solid gold.
And is that gold?
That's the solid gold one.
Oh.
So you have a very, very nice St. Stanislaus. They were awarded for bravery. This is a military one because it has the cross swords through the Red Cross. Then we move on from there, and now we see that he's in World War II. Mm-hmm. I can see that he is in the Atlantic, and he also has the class France and Germany, which means he's part of the Normandy landings as well. And then we see a mention in dispatches. So another gallantry award. Mm-hmm. What did he do for that?
When he was recalled, he was in his 60s in 1939, and he was put in command of an armed merchant cruiser, the Alcantara.
This one here?
Yes, which actually had been built in Belfast. They engaged a German surface raider in July 40 and managed to knock their guns out of action, but a lucky shot put the Alcantara's engines out of commission. So it was a draw, really.
It's a superb set of medals. 45 years covered with basically 3 gallantry decorations as well. Incredible. But then the Russian aspect as well. I mean, this man has truly covered the planet in action.
Have you any comments to make about maybe renewing the ribbons on the medals?
Yes, don't ever do it. They are gorgeous, just the way they are. However, if you were the medal collector and you wanted to buy them with those faded ribbons, you're going to have to pay £10,000 for them.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's
Discovery, as it was then, SS Discovery, on her first voyage to Antarctica.
HMS Discovery was launched from Dundee in March 1901, the first British vessel ever built specifically for Antarctic research. Captain Scott reached the South Pole in January 1912, only to find Roald Amundsen had beaten him there by 5 weeks. Edward Wilson, who painted the watercolour you're about to see, died alongside Scott on the return march. Their tent was discovered that November, 11 miles short of a food depot. Only around 25 polar medals carry bars for both the Discovery and the Terra Nova expeditions.
To his journal, which is quite extensive. He includes a lot of sort of scraps that he's cut out from here and there.
Yes, that would be afterwards, of course.
And then here, a very attractive little watercolour done by one of his shipmates, I think, probably.
Yes.
Discovery clearing the pack ice, done in the winter of 1902.
Yeah.
Things like this are increasingly sought after and of considerable value now. Now, the other thing here is the Antarctic medal, if I can just put it there. And this has got 2 bars for Discovery and Terra Nova.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that actually there are only 25 barred Antarctic medals of the Great Age, polar medals of the Great Age.
Oh.
The most anybody ever got was 4, which was Ernest Joyce.
Yes.
I finally want to talk about this glorious watercolour by Edward Wilson, who died with Scott soon after the polar journey. It was used, in fact, as one of the plates, one of the illustrations of a work done soon after the expedition returned.
I've never been to Antarctica, but it looks so realistic, the picture.
Yes, it does. You can feel the freezing winds, can't you? I suppose we must talk slightly about values. I mean, had you any idea? Have you got them insured at all?
No, not at all.
This, I think, probably we're looking in the region of about £10,000 to £12,000.
Good heavens.
The medal, I think, probably about 8,000 to 10,000, something of that order. And that could go higher because it's so unusual to get these 2 bars from the 2 great expeditions. And finally, this marvellous Wilson watercolour, which I think probably might command about £7,000 at auction, something like that.
Monetary, I wouldn't care less, neither do the family. Historically.
Who was this man?
This was my wife's grandfather. Unfortunately, I wasn't privileged enough to meet him, but my wife knew him when she was a young child.
I have very vague memories because I actually was only coming up for my 5th birthday when he actually passed away. I'm very proud of him, obviously, with what he achieved.
Well,
the Victoria Cross has been awarded 1,358 times since Queen Victoria instituted the decoration in 1856. Each one is still cast at Hancock's of London, the same workshop appointed by warrant in 1857, from the bronze of Russian cannons captured at the siege of Sebastopol 2 years earlier. Of those 1,300 medals, more than 60 were earned in the Third Battle of Ypres, the campaign the troops simply called Passchendaele.
To read what is known as... Okay. So this is what the king would have been told. In the attack on the morning of October the 4th, 1917, east of Langemarck, Sergeant James Ockenden was acting Company Sergeant Major. Noticing the right platoon held up by an enemy machine gun which was causing many casualties, he, with absolute disregard for his personal safety, immediately rushed the gun, killed 2 of the gunners and followed and killed the 3rd who was making his escape across no man's land. He then led a party to an attack on a trench. This party was heavily fired on as it advanced. Sergeant Ockenden dashed ahead and called upon the garrison to surrender. They, however, continued to fire, and with great boldness, Sergeant Ockenden then opened fire himself. Having killed 4 of the enemy, he forced the remaining 16 to surrender. During the remainder of the day, Sergeant Ockenden displayed the greatest gallantry.
Yeah.
Wow. For that, he is awarded the Victoria Cross. It's a very humble medal. Queen Victoria said, it's not about the medal, it's about the deed behind the medal. That's the important thing. And she never wanted it to be worth any money. She wanted it made of a very cheap piece of metal. It's made of bronze.
Right.
He also has a military medal. So that's another gallantry award. And I understand that also was for attacking another machine gun post.
Yes. Yeah.
He also was at Gallipoli. Not only was he at Gallipoli...
Ockenden was 27 when he stormed those German machine gun posts at Langemarck.
up that beach.
He survived the rest of that war, served in the Home Guard during the Second, and lived quietly in Portsmouth until his death in 1966.
What happened to him?
The market for the Victoria Cross has only deepened with time. Captain Noel Chavez VC and Bar set the auction record at Dick's Noonan Webb in 2009 at £1.5 million. A medal of this caliber rarely surfaces twice in a generation.
They do have a value. You any idea what they might be worth?
Not really. It's something that will never leave the family.
250 to 300,000 pounds.
God.
I didn't think it would be that much.
Easily.
I need a stiff cup of coffee.
I'm a bit like my husband, shocked. I didn't expect that at all.
We'll be returning the medals to the bank. We're keeping them in the safety deposit box there.
I think that's probably wise.
Yeah.
That day, he deserved that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next. And there are plenty more incredible appraisals waiting for you on the channel. Go check them out.